Welcome to round 4 of the WA Sporting Car Club 2024 season, proudly lubricated by Valvoline. Day 2 features Formula V, sports cars, WA muscle cars, historic touring cars, street cars, 3E production cars, improved production cars, and HQ Holdens. Race number 1 on our Sunday morning here at carco.com.au Raceway, and it is our Formula Vs, and a good start off the line for car number 7 of Team Casely, of Dave Casely, and Jason Fowler right behind him. Paul Multoney in the mix as well as they head down into turn number 1. Rod Lisson in the red car, very wide on the exit of turn number 1, trying to get that momentum and RPM built up before they headed up through the S's and over the top of the hill. Good size field of Formula Vs, both in our 1600 category and also the really close battles that have been developing lately in our 1200cc category as well. But down into turn number 7 for the first time, and it was all Dave Casely doing it quite well out in front from Jason Fowler in second position. Paul Multoney having a cracker of a year. He held third position. And this is the battle that we've just been talking about with our 1200cc category cars. Callum Lamont, Andrew Lockett, Jonathan Scary, Dave Campbell, April Welsh. The list goes on and on. And it was just really close racing all day. So we pick up with Dave Casely again. Still 3 or 4 car lengths in front of the blue car out of Mandurah for Jason Fowler. Paul Multoney and Mason Legg having a great run again this year. And unfortunately for Connor Welsh, second race meeting in a row, ends up at the top of the hill, and unfortunately he'll go 1 lap down. Some great battles side by side up through the S's. Nobody was going to come near Dave Casely in car number 7. Very experienced Formula V driver, not only here at Carco but all around Australia, as we see a move on here from Rod Lisson, car number 71, rounding up Connor Welsh. Mason Legg slipping past as well. Mason Legg having a great year as well, just out of the top 3 consistently, but definitely within the top 5 at every race meeting. Just chipping away, clocking up those points for the West Australian Sporting Car Club Championship at the end of the year. Andrew Lockett coming under attack now from Jonathan Scary. And great to see this guy back. DC, Dave Campbell in car number 58. Great battle side by side as they come down into turn number 7. It's April Welsh holding off by 1.5 car lengths now as Dave Campbell drives to the inside, looking for a run up the inside. And again, this battle happening with our 1200cc category cars. It's Callum Lamont. New paint job for Callum this weekend, closely followed by Jonathan Scary. As we go on board for Valvoline with Madeline Matthews coming over the top of the hill and overtaking a few of our 1200s. Tony and Rod Lisson battling it out across turn number 5 and down towards turn 6. And unfortunately for Kathy Lisson, a lot of smoke appearing out of the rear of that Volkswagen powered 1600. And unfortunately, she would be a retiree for this event. It was still Callum Lamont in car number 91 doing a great job out in front from Andrew Lockett and Jonathan Scary in car number 23. Jonathan's been a revelation in season 2024. As you see, looking to see if he could get a pass through, but at the line, Your winner was Dave Casely over Jason Fowler in car number 10, and Paul Moltoni takes out third position. And as far as our 1200s, it goes to Callum Lamont from Andrew Lockett and Jonathan Scarry for third place. Race number 1 for our sports cars and WA muscle cars. And it's Richard Bloomfield starting on pole position alongside Mark Cirillo. And then we have Tim Wolfe alongside Clint Rayner in the first of the WA muscle cars. Side by side into turn number 1 with Mark Cirillo looking to try and go into second place over Tim Wolfe. As they go side by side out of turn number 1 and through turn 2, Cirillo able to hang on to second position, only just from Tim Wolfe, then Clint Rayner. As they come up and over the top of the hill, this beautifully presented car of Bloomfield seems to get a bit of an advantage exiting the corners. Mark Cirillo trying really, really hard to stay on the back as we go on board for Valvoline with Tim Wolfe. So the conclusion of lap number 1, still Richard Bloomfield from Tim Wolfe. And Clint Rayner having a look up the inside of Mark Cirillo in the Porsche. Cirillo dives across in front of Clint Rayner and maintains third place as they head up through the S's. Walter Apple having a good run in turn number 4 at the moment. Not too far off the back of Clint Rayner. They head up and over the top of the hill and down into turn number 6. Everybody really, really late on the brakes. It's all Bloomfield at the moment. Still that 3 or 4 car lengths over Tim Wolfe from Mark Cirillo. And then the first of the WA muscle cars, their beautifully presented bright orange car of Clint Rayner. Chase Hoy not too far off the back of him. As they crest the top of the hill, down into turn number 6. Bloomfield hanging on, but that gap starting to increase, and as we catch Mark Cirillo backing it into turn number 6, just a little bit too fast on the entry, and unfortunately safety car comes out. We had a safety car for 3 laps while we removed the stricken Porsche of Mark Cirillo down there in turn 6. For Valvoline, let's go back on board for a lap of Carco Raceway with car number 91 of Tim Wolfe. Great onboard footage from Tim Wolfe in car number 91, really showing the strengths and advantages of both of the cars in different parts of the racetrack, as young Chase Hoy side by side with Clint Rayner down there battling it out for the WA muscle car. And it's Rayner on the outside, Chase Hoy on the inside, and Chase able to get Rayner under brakes as Bloomfield comes across the line, still with Wolfe only 2 car lengths behind him now. Chase Hoy into third position. A good recovery as he was running back in 6th place. And unfortunately for Walter Eppel, just cooks it on the exit of turn number 1, lights the back wheels up and goes infield. Last lap board is out for car 57 of Richard Bloomfield as they go down into turn number 1. Still that little margin that can't be closed. Back to Tim Wolf. Now they're really starting to pull away now from Chase Hoy, and Chase Hoy is dropping Clint Rayner off the back of his car as well. So they're down into 6, and across the line goes Richard Bloomfield for the win from Tim Wolf, and Campbell Nunn gets up to take a well-deserved 3rd place. WA Muscle Cars goes to Chase Hoy over Clint Rayner. Historic Touring Cars were next out on the track, and a great getaway for Graham Woolhouse in car number 86. John Bondi going very sideways, looking for a way around Simon Northey in the left-hand drive Ford Mustang, car number 44. And Stuart Young also up there as well, challenging John Bondi in the Monaro in his beautifully presented GTR XU1 Tirana. Right behind him, Mitch Evans in the first of the Flying Bricks. They head down into turn number 6 for the first time, and already Graham Woolhouse pulling away by some 50 metres over Simon Northey in 2nd, John Bondi for 3rd, and Stuart Young in 4th. We go back to Randle Beavis debuting a new car for Carco Raceway, the V6 3-litre powered Ford Capri. Good size field of historic touring cars for this particular race meeting, but back up to the front, John Bondi still holding 3rd at the moment. A little wisp of smoke starting to appear out of the back of the Monaro as he heads up through the bus stop area. But Stuart Young now all over the back of John Bondi as he looks for a way through on the way down to turn 6. Martin Dennis, guy that we haven't seen too much of Martin in season 2024. Great to see him back in that beautiful little Datsun 1600 with Laurie Lapsley in the Jaguar Mark II. And this little car number 95, Trevor Fairs. And John Bondi still holding off Stuart Young for 3rd place at the moment. But right up the front, it was Graham Woolhouse doing it really handsomely out in front, pulling away now from Simon Northey, then Bondi and Stuart Young. Wellstead out there in car number 67, another one of the faster minis. And now Peter Piscaneri's put on the moves here. He's got past Stuart Young and John Bondi, so he moves himself up into 3rd position. That's the white Mustang from the southwest of Western Australia. Keeping it nice and straight and full acceleration up and over the top of the hill. Slightly sideways across the top of 5. But still this battle rage with Stuart Young again looking for a run down the inside of the big heavy Monaro. Stephen Wellstead in car 67 and Laurie Lapsley coming across the top of the hill. Having a great little battle. Bit of a brake lock-up down into turn number 6 from Stephen Wellstead as Don Behetz gets the big 7-litre, the 427 Ford Galaxy, all super sideways on the exit of turn number 7. Don having a great season 2024. As Laurie Lapsley looks to put on a move on Steve Wellstead, there's no room there as the little Mini comes across the front of the Mark II Jaguar. Relocates Lapsley back. This battle went on for the entire race, and Martin Dennis just watching what was happening in front in the little yellow Datsun 1600 as Laurie Lapsley again tries to drive underneath Stephen Wellstead. Very, very close between these two drivers, but Wellstead gets the better of the run. The front wheel drive, little Mini pokes his nose in front, but at the checkered flag, it was all Graham Woolhouse in car number 86 from Simon Northey. A good result for Simon to get 2nd place, and in 3rd goes to Peter Piscaneri. Street car, IPC and 3E production cars hit the track, and it was a great start from John Caligari. A little bit of a brake lock up there, and he runs on a fraction wide. And Brent Peters getting off onto the grass too on the getaway there. Up and over the top of the hill, Grant Gellan all over the back of him in that beautifully presented little Ford Escort. As they head up and over the top of the hill, a big gaggle of 3E production cars, IPC and street cars. Caligari in the VN 5-litre Commodore comes down into turn number 7 for the first time from Ben Peachy. First of our street cars in the Datsun 200B Triple S. Mark Jolly getting it very sideways, and same with Brent Peters on the exit of turn number 7. This car of Caligari's, very, very quick car around carco.com.au raceway. Pick up on our field, big field of cars, streaming through turn number 4 and over across turn 5. Great to see some of the 4-cylinder brigade back out there again this week. Cameron Burns and Neil Pollard out there in his Honda Civic. Pick up with Neil coming down into turn number 7, and a hard charging Peter Callow, the Nissan Skyline right behind him. Mark Jolly again sliding the Ford Falcon out of turn number 7. Now Ben Peachy, the street car, in second place all over the back of the IPC car of John Caligari, car number 5. And we go back to Grant Gellan and Steve Turpin as well. Ben Peachy looking for a way through on Caligari. Lighter weight car and a turbocharged car versus the V8, 5-litre V8 of John Caligari. And we've got a very quick 2-litre Mark 1 Escort. Coming across the top of the hill again, and Grant Gellan steps it out sideways and floats the car across turn number 5. His pursuit of Ben Peachy. Caligari now starting to draw away by some 20 metres, but these 4 were the class act in race number 1. Steve Turpin now joining the back of Grant Gellan's car. Cameron Burns in car number 17, and Damien Croxon in the Renault Megane. So head up through the S's. Really starting to get tight at the front now with Ben Peachy looking for a move on John Caligari, and slides the 200B up the inside of the VN Commodore. Grant Gellan still hanging on for 3rd place, and they look like they're starting to drop off Steve Turpin in car number 3. As they come across the top of the hill, Gellan again all over the back of John Caligari looking for a way through. V8 versus 4-cylinder as they head down into turn number 6. Caligari on the inside, Gellan on the outside on the exit of turn number 7, but the power of the 5-litre V8, and the same with Steve Turpin as well, able to out-drag the little 4-cylinder of Grant Gellan. Grant has prime position for the entry into turn number 1 as we pick up car number 67 of Peter Callow in the camouflaged Nissan Skyline from Neil Pollard in a very quick Honda Civic. And unfortunately for the Callow car, a lot of smoke developing out the back of this car, and unfortunately retired straight away to the pit area. But that looks like an expensive morning for Peter Callow. As our checkered flag comes out, and across the line it was Ben Peachy as far as our street cars, and unfortunately for Peter Callow, he did not finish. We have a look at our 3E production cars. The winner, Brent Peters from Damien Croxon and Laurie Whitome in car 70 for 3rd. And our improved production cars goes to John Caligari over Steve Turpin and the Honda Civic of Neil Pollard. After the race, Slim Jim caught up with Kyle McPherson.
A massive weekend here at Carco Raceway for round 4, proudly sponsored and lubricated by Valvoline. I'm joined by Kyle McPherson. Kyle, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
When did you get involved with motorsport? What was the motivation for it?
Yeah, look, grew up around a dad that was a bit of a rev head, always encouraging that sort of thing. You know, you've got to have a safe car, but, you know, kind of encourages you indirectly to go fast. Didn't do too much of it as a kid, unfortunately. Was trying to go down the aircraft path instead, but once I became an adult and had a bit more money, started, doing a bit of time attack over east in a 180 SX.
So you're not from here, you weren't born here?
I was born here, but I've been over east with the Navy for nearly 12 years. Come back over here and went back from go-karts over east as well. And bought this car and moved into production cars and absolutely loving it so far.
So you obviously made some big changes because you were formerly involved with the Rise Racing.
Yep.
But now you own your own car. And why have you chosen the Renault as a vehicle of choice?
Look, the Renaults, I think, for an out-of-the-box race car, like they've got a very good, strong history. Internationally as well, like there are a lot of good rally prowess.
I've seen that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like from the national perspective as well, the Osbornes were quite successful with the Megans in the national production series for a number of years. And I'm a bit of a Nissan guy as well, and Nissan and Renault had a good affiliation with each other. So my car actually has a Nissan engine in it, but with the Renault chassis. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're obviously, as you said, you've got an aircraft background.
Yep.
And that's the sort of work that you normally do. But do you take that sort of training that you've gained from the Navy and so forth to working on your car yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a good... Everything that we do in the aircraft world is very strict. It's all very much by procedure, lots of scrutiny and levels of safety protection. I think it's good. It comes into motorsport to have a good attitude, look in the right places, having the correct torque principles, lubricating stuff correctly. Just a real good attitude.
Holden HQ's next out on the circuit, and Mick Woodbridge in car number 74 gets the best of the starts from Ryan Davis in car number 49, and a little bit of argy-bargy with Stuart Kenny and Grant Ord for third and fourth, with Ord getting stuck out wide. Troy Kent in P5, and then Michael Howlett as they disappear up through the S's and into turn number 4. It's still Woodbridge from Davis as they head up and over the top of the hill. 11 cars, and some of the closest racing we've seen out of the HQ category for quite a while, with a little bit of body damage being affected by all cars over the course of the 2024 season. Down into turn number 6 for the first time. It's Mick Woodbridge from Ryan Davis and Grant Ord and Stuart Kenny still having this great battle. Troy Kent sitting back in 5th position at the moment, just waiting for an incident or something to happen in front of him. But side by side with Woodbridge on the inside, Davis to the outside. Woodbridge going to hold P1 as a bit more of rubbing, and rubbing is racing, particularly in HQs. Down the side of Mick Woodbridge's car, gets blasted with car number 49, blue paint. Behind them, it's still battling on for third position between car 4 of Grant Ord and 72 of Stuart Kenny. Troy Kent now starting to come under attack from Michael Howlett, the current state champion in HQs, and these 6 having a great battle. 2 lots of 3 as they head down into turn number 6 for the second time. Woodbridge and Davis still going side by side into turn number 1 again, and Howlett now looking to put a move on Troy Kent in car number 3. Starting to close up a little bit now are these front runners, and Davis slides the car underneath 74 of Mick Woodbridge. Grant Ord now up into third position, and Stuart Kenny in there as well, up and over the top of the hill. Davis and Woodbridge side by side, and a big lose from Brian Davis in car number 49. A big coming together on the crest of the hill, coming down in towards turn 6, and unfortunately for Davis, costing 5 or 6 positions. Mick Woodbridge still maintaining the lead. No safety car required as Davis was able to get the car refired and back out onto the circuit. Stuart Kenny now slips into second place from Grant Ord. Goodfield's right the way through the back there with Bo Pangler and Phil Breen also featuring in that little section down towards the rear end of the field. Car number 3 of Troy Kent stuck in 4th position at the moment, and now another attack for first place. 72 of Stuart Kenny trying to go up the inside of 74 of Mick Woodbridge, and again side by side battles on the way out of turn number 7. Side by side, Who's going to win this? It's going to be a drag race, and it just goes to Mick Woodbridge over Stuart Kenny. And Grant Ord in car number 4 takes out 3rd position. Formula V's on the circuit here at Carco Raceway, and again it was a great getaway from car number 7 of Dave Casely from Jason Fowler in car number 10, and then we go side by side with Moltoni and Rod Lisson and Mason Legg. They're your top 5 as they head up and over the top of the hill for the first time. Some great racing being put on by our Formula V's in season 2024. One of the standout categories as per usual. As we see the moves coming thick and fast already as they head down into turn number 7 for the first time. Dave Casely and Jason Fowler, 2 blue cars side by side on the way out of turn number 7. This one has been particularly exciting as well for our 1200cc category runners. Very, very quick and close racing as Casely throws the car into turn number 1. 4 or 5 car lengths over Jason Fowler, with Paul Moltoni only 1 car length behind Jason Fowler as they crest the top of the hill. We go back to Rod Lisson, having a fairly ordinary day by Rod's standards. But back in the 1200s, Callum Lamont and Dave Campbell going wheel to wheel. And the same with Scary and April Welsh. They've been having a great run in race number 1 and now in race number 2. Up with Andrew Lockett, currently in 3rd position at the moment. It was Lamont, Campbell and Lockett. It's our 1600cc category. Jason Fowler defending 2nd place from Paul Moltoni, and a bit of puff of smoke there out of the Lisson car number 71. But back to our 1200s, it's Callum Lamont in car number 91 from Dave Campbell and Andrew Lockett. They head down into turn number 6 with Dave Campbell looking for a run up the inside. Car number 32 and Scary having a great battle as well as they go 3 wide up and over the top of the hill and down into turn 7. Callum Lamont, car number 91, maintains 1st place at the moment for our 1200cc category, but a great battle happening for 2nd and 3rd. Dave Campbell in car number 58. Lockett now takes the lead from Lamont and Dave Campbell. Head up into turn number 4 and up over the top of the hill again. Down into 7, Dave Campbell now back in front again, and how often do we see this with our Formula Vs, chopping and changing positions every lap. 91 going to be credited with the lead on this lap of Callum Lamont from Dave Campbell, who looks for a run up the inside, and Andrew Lockett was leading, now back into 3rd place in the space of 1 lap. 3 wide as they come up and over the top of the hill. This is what Formula V racing is all about, open wheel racing, close and competitive. And now Andrew Lockett from 3rd back up into 1st place again, Lamont down to 2nd, and Dave Campbell hanging on for 3rd. April Welsh in car number 33 having a great battle with one of the Scary teams, car number 23 of Jonathan. Not too far off the back of our leaders as far as our 1200cc categories, as they're spread right out over the width of the racetrack. It's Lamont, Dave Campbell again having a look up the inside, and the same with Jonathan Scary. He does go up the inside of April Welsh, and now things starting to really close up as they come across some slower traffic. It's car number 18, the silver car, and that's allowed Lamont, Campbell and Lockett to all get through. Great driving by the slower car there, and unfortunately all 3 of our leaders have gone off, Lamont, David Campbell and Andrew Lockett, and our leader comes across the line. It goes to Dave Casely in car number 7 from car 10 of Jason Fowler, and Paul Moltoni takes out 3rd. And our 1600s, it goes to the youngster Jonathan Scary from April Welsh, and her brother Connor takes out 3rd. Second of our sports cars and WA muscle cars hit the track here at Carco Raceway, with Richard Bloomfield on pole position from car number 91 of Tim Wolfe. And then on the second row, the WA muscle cars of Chase Hoy. Starting alongside him will be Clint Rayner in car number 98 as the red lights are extinguished and we go racing here at Carco Raceway with Richard Bloomfield getting off to a good start. Tim Wolfe ducks his car into second place from Chase Hoy, and Clint Rayner made to run all the way around the outside, and that actually worked for him. He was able to get past Chase Hoy and puts himself up into third place as it's very close at the front. Two Porsches, two WA muscle cars, and now we can see the difference between these European designed and built sports cars versus the American muscle cars of the Ford Mustang and Chev Camaro of Clint Rayner and Chase Hoy, as Rayner looking for a run around the outside of Chase Hoy, and he does that and gets third position. So Tim Wolfe in second, Clint Rayner in third, and then a great battle side by side now with another one of the Porsches starting to come up, and that'll be Walter Eppel in car number 3, having a battle with Mark Cirillo, fighting back from unfortunate lose in the first of our 17-minute races earlier on this morning. Cirillo able to effect that pass and drives away a bit now already from Walter Eppel. Now Chase Hoy needs to negotiate Walter Eppel as they head down into turn number 6. Lightweight European sports car built for endurance racing. And these muscle cars, just typical American race cars, big, heavy, full of horsepower, and very difficult to drive after a few laps when those tyres start to get very, very soft. But Bloomfield doing a great job out in front, and one of the better runs of the year for car number 91 of Tim Wolfe, not letting Richard Bloomfield get away at all, just maintaining that 2 or 3 car length difference. Both of these cars have the different strengths and weaknesses at different parts of the racetrack. Bloomfield able to get off the corners quicker than Tim Wolfe, but Tim Wolfe has the top end over Richard Bloomfield. Real elastic band effect, as you can see that being demonstrated right now under brakes. Tim Wolfe able to make up 2 or 3 car lengths and then loses out again off the corner. Chase Hoy now starting to drop away from the back of Walter Eppel. You can see the car starting to slide around now, those tyres just about at the end of their life. Get very, very soft and very sideways as Clint Rayner now gets his WA muscle car all sideways, and that's allowed young Chase to get right into the boot lid as the laps counting down here towards the finish of our second of our 17-minute races for our WA muscle cars and sports cars. Great battle developing now with Clint Rayner and the young hard charger of Chase Hoy in that beautiful blue and white car. And look at Tim Wolfe now, only 1 or 2 car lengths now between himself and Richard Bloomfield, who's been the cream of the cream as far as 2024 at Checkered Flag, and it goes to car number 57. Another victory here at Carco Raceway for Richard Bloomfield over Tim Wolfe and Mark Cirillo, fighting back from the back of the pack to finish in third place. As far as our WA muscle cars, Clint Rayner was able to hang on just over a very hard finishing Chase Hoy. Second race of the day for historic touring cars, and again it was Graham Woolhouse, the best getaway off the line, with Peter Piscaneri going up into second place over John Bondi in the orange Holden Monaro. And we go back a fair way now to the 6-cylinder debut car of Ford Capri of the Bandit in Randle Beavis. It was all Woolhouse across the top of the hill for the first time. Stuart Young falling behind the Ford Capri of Beavis on the first lap. We'll look for a big charge from Stuart Young in the GTR XU1 Tirana as they come up and over the top of the hill, and it was Graham Woolhouse able to get back in front of Peter Piscaneri. We go back 2 or 3 car lengths to John Bondi in car number 89, and Stuart Young having a run down the inside of the Ford Capri. Big Galaxy mixing it up and getting it super sideways off turn number 7 is Don Behetz. Piscaneri fighting back and slides underneath Graham Woolhouse in car number 86. These guys having a great battle, the two Ford Mustangs. Over the top of the hill, and it's Piscaneri now starting to use up those tyres, and the same with Bondi as well, starting to slide onto the ripple strip on the exit of turn number 5. Wellstead, Lapsley and Dennis and Ian Brown out there in the only Ford Cortina. Very few and far between have been the Ford Cortinas in season 2024. Great to see Ian out there in his blue prepared Ford Cortina. As Behetz again gets it all sideways off turn 4 and slides it across the top of turn number 5. So Don having some handling issues with the tyres on board the big 7-litre Ford Galaxy. Scott Mackey's able to get in front and drive away from the Galaxy. We pick up with our leaders, and back into third place is 89 of John Bondi. To keep that Monaro as straight as he can, but there was a great battle developing between the XU1 Tirana and the Ford Galaxy of Don Behetz and Scott Mackey. Behetz able to be later on the brakes, but Scott Mackey looking for a way around the outside of the Ford Galaxy. Pick up with Piscaneri again, and he runs it wide, drops a wheel off on the exit of turn number 5. Starting to become a little bit common as we have a huge accident for Steve Wellstead in car number 67. Unfortunately straddled the ripple strip, lost control and into the tyre wall on pit entry, and that was a big one for Steve Wellstead. Great to see him up and out of the car straight away, and our fast acting officials. A big thank you to all of our officials, not only our recovery teams but everybody up there in race control, our flaggies. All of our officials, they put in a great effort over 2 days so we can go racing. This race was declared, and the winner was Piscaneri over Woolhouse, and John Bondi takes out third. During the day, Slim Jim caught up with Randle Beavis.
Here at Carco Raceway, round 4 all weekend, and we're proudly sponsored and lubricated by Valvoline. I'm joined by Randle Beavis, who's participating in historic touring cars this weekend. Thanks so much for your time, Randle. How did you get involved in motorsport, mate?
Cheers, Jamie. Yeah, look, 1964 Australian Touring Car Championships at Caversham Raceway. Watched the Neptune racing team, Norm Beachy, Jim McEwen, Peter Manton, and from that point on, motorsport was going to be where I was heading.
You were bitten straight away. Like the bug bit you, and that was it.
Absolutely.
Was your family involved in motorsport as well?
Yeah, look, we're from the Wheatbelt area, and
whereabouts did you grow up?
I grew up in Northam.
Yeah,
family
great.
had a BMC dealership, so we always had to follow all the minis everywhere. And my father did a lot of country rallying and quarter mile racing in the day on gravel. There's a little bit of history there for sure.
Now, why have you chosen historic touring cars as your category? I mean, is it the love about the sort of the older type of vehicles, the way they were made, the style of them, something you grew up with? Maybe it was your first car when you first started driving.
It's everything and all of that. And I mean, these are the real cars.
Yeah.
You know, they're steel bumpers.
Yeah.
And yes, they are. I mean, I had one of these when I was 17 years old, and I traded a 69 model in and bought a 71 V6 GT, and a fantastic car.
And I suppose mechanically they're a lot more logical when it comes to the way a motor should run compared to some of the technologies being integrated into cars at the moment.
Yeah, well, look, it comes back to what you grow up with. Yeah. So, you know, I grew up with cars that certainly didn't have computers.
Streetcar, IPC and 3E production for their second race of the day, and Ben Peachy gets off to a great start, but look over there to the right-hand side. You can see John Caligari and Brad Wheeler both having to start from pit lane, and they will get out onto the racetrack behind Neville Zaccoli. And a lot of work to do for John Caligari to try and get back on terms with Ben Peachy, Steve Turpin and Neil Pollard as they head up and over the top of the hill for the first time. Brett Peters in there in his VE production Commodore. Cameron Burns, Mark Jolly having a great run early on race number 2. You see Caligari and see the distance that he has to make up as he heads into turn number 4 and 5 for the first time. With Ben Peachy and Steve Turpin, they were the first and second over the top of the hill. Then we go back to Neil Pollard now, some 50 metres behind in the Honda Civic. And a big brake lock up there for the Peters car as he slides underneath Cameron Burns. And yellow flags, unfortunately, we have lost James Russo down there in turn number 6. Looks like it's understeered straight into the sand patch, so that brought out our safety car. Only a 1 lap delay while we retrieve the car of James Russo. And this is going to condense the field, so this really worked for John Caligari, able to move through the pack in the first opening 2 laps. And now right in the boot lid of the car in front, and a lot closer to Steve Turpin, who takes the green flag and goes down into turn number 1 at the restart, with Peachy in second, Neil Pollard in the Honda Civic holding on for third, Mark Jolly and Brent Peters having a great battle as they head up through the S's. Steve Turpin in the Commodore, now starting to stretch his legs and get away from Ben Peachy in the Triple S 200B. And look at Caligari, going to take 2 cars on the way down into turn number 6 and lining up a few more on the way out, up and over the top of the hill. Now finds himself in 3rd position, so a tremendous fight back from John Caligari. He can see the leader. He's only 3 cars in front, and with a lot more time remaining in this race, let's see what John Caligari can do in car number 5, the VN Commodore. Can they catch this car of Steve Turpin? Mark Jolly in the Ford Falcon, moving down into turn number 6. But Steve Turpin in car number 3 doing a fantastic job out in front of Ben Peachy, and then gets it very, very sideways right out into the marbles. You can see the marbles and sand coming off the rear wheels. Car number 29 now starting to be lapped, and this has allowed Peachy to get a little bit closer to the back of Turpin. And again, Turpin runs wide on the exit of turn number 7. This is Peachy's chance at the checkered flag. It was very, very close between the two, even though they are in 2 different categories. Our winner, as far as our street cars, goes to Ben Peachy over Neville Zaccoli. And our 3E production cars goes to Brent Peters over Damien Croxon in the Renault Megane and Laurie Whittam in the Mazda RX-8. And our improved production cars, car number 3 of Steve Turpin, car 5 of John Caligari, and Mark Jolly takes out 3rd position. After an incident-packed race number 1, this is race number 2 for our Holden HQs, and Stuart Kenny in car number 72 able to get the best of the start in front of Mick Woodbridge. Woodbridge going side by side with Troy Kent, the ever-improving Troy Kent in car number 3. Sits himself in 3rd place in front of car 4 of Grant Ord and 49 of Ryan Davis. 2 car lengths back now is Michael Howlett. And a good sized field of Holden HQs, and look at the attitude of these cars as they come through the exit of turn 4 and entry into 5. Really starting to develop some body roll as they head down into turn number 6 for the first time. A good field and side-by-side action again, with Woodbridge trying to come down the inside of Stuart Kenny in car 72, and Davis looking for a run up the inside of Grant Ord. And everybody holds fire during the braking area. No positions changed during that little altercation down into turn number 7. But it's still side by side with Stuart Kenny, the guy that's been the standout in this category in season 2024, holding the lead over Mick Woodbridge. And now Ryan Davis looking to get past Troy Kent, which he has, and Grant Ord has gone with him as well. So unfortunately for Troy Kent, goes from 3rd back to 5th at the moment. running around the outside, and again is the body roll that you can see develop on these Holden HQs as they come across the top of the hill. Michael Woodbridge puts the left rear out over onto the ripple strip, and unfortunately it looks like Troy Kent's going to lose another position this time as they come down into turn number 7. He's been able to hang on to the back of Michael Howlett. Howlett in 5th, Troy Kent back to 6th now. As you can see, car 75 of Phil Breen rounding out that field as they headed over the start-finish line. But back over at the top of the hill, it's Stuart Kenny by 2 car lengths over the veteran in Mick Woodbridge. And we go back a long way now to Ryan Davis and Grant Ord. Because Davis fighting back from starting down towards the rear of the field in this race number 2 after that altercation with Mick Woodbridge in race 1. Phil Breen having a great battle with car number 21 of O'Keefe. See them coming out of turn number 7, down into turn number 1 to reel off another lap here at Carco Raceway. It's still 72 of Stuart Kenny from Mick Woodbridge and Ryan Davis. They're your top 3. You notice they're all taking nearly exactly the same line through the exit of turn number 4, trying to keep the power up. 6-cylinder 202 powered engines, controlled engine package and tyres and suspension and brakes. Everybody running the same equipment, and it puts more emphasis on your racecraft and the way you set the cars up as far as air pressures in the tyres. And doing the best of that is Stuart Kenny at the moment. As we can see, the checkered flag out, and the winner of race number 2 was car number 72 of Stuart Kenny over 74 of Mick Woodbridge, and a good fight back for car number 49 of Ryan Davis. For the final time today, it's our Formula Vs, our 1600 and 1200 category combined. A great start for Dave Casely, Paul Moltoni for 2nd, Rod Lisson in 3rd as they head out on turn number 1 for the first time. And these guys and girls have been putting on some sensational racing in season 2024. As you can see there, 3 wide through turn number 4. They are just so close together, wheel-to-wheel racing as Jason Fowler looks for a run down the inside of Rod Lisson, multiple state champion. And they're still side by side as they came over the top of the hill. It was Casely from Moltoni. Now Jason Fowler goes up the inside of car 71 of Rod Lisson. And back here with our 1200cc categories, it was Dave Campbell from Callum Lamont and Andrew Lockett. You can throw in April Welsh and young Jonathan Scary into this pack as well. And already April Welsh and Jonathan Scary starting to get away from Connor Welsh, Callum Lamont, Dave Campbell. Jason Fowler still holding in 2nd from the smoking car of Rod Lisson. He's been doing that quite a bit over the last couple of race meetings. As our 1200s, now it's Dave Campbell in front from Andrew Lockett and Callum Lamont. That's for 3rd, 4th and 5th, because up the road it's April Welsh having a great battle with young Jonathan Scary. Back to the front, and it's Casely still out in front from Jason Fowler in car 10. Moltoni in there in the mix as well. Starting to get a little bit spicy back here in the 1200cc category as Andrew Lockett now takes over the lead from Dave Campbell and Callum Lamont. Dave Campbell goes straight underneath Andrew Lockett, looking to take Callum Lamont with him. But side by side as they exit turn number 1, Lockett holds on to 2nd, and unfortunately for young Isaac Scary, it will be a DNF in this race. Great sense of awareness and pulls the car off to drivers right on the exit of turn number 5. Back to the action as we pick up with the leaders of our 1200s, and it's April Welsh from Jonathan Scary, and then further back 3 wide, Andrew Lockett, Dave Campbell and Callum Lamont going up the inside of Dave Campbell. And if you notice there, you can see Andrew looking left, looking right. and then able to make a positional move down there into turn number 7. April Welsh having a great day in car number 33, holding off Jonathan Scarey in car 23 by 2 car lengths as they head up and over the top of the hill. But this is where the battle was really starting to develop, was a little bit further back with Lockett, Lamont and Dave Campbell. Further up the front, Jason Fowler now overtakes Paul Moltoni for 2nd position. And a long way in front was that man, car number 7, Dave Casely, doing it all his own way. And as you can see, we have a 5 or 6 cars now. These are our 1200cc categories, and they are so close together. And this is what our Formula V racing is all about over here at carco.com.au Raceway, as the move's starting to come on now with Rod Lisson and Mason Legg starting to go through some of the slower traffic. There's that puff of smoke again out of Rod Lisson's car on the exit of turn number 7. Doesn't seem to be affecting the performance of the car. But over the checkered flag, it goes to car number 7 of Dave Casely from 10 of Jason Fowler and Paul Moltoni for 3rd. That's the way our 1600cc category finished, but we're going to pick up on our 1200cc category as they come down into turn number 7 for the last time. Jonathan Scarey looking for a run up the inside of April Welsh. Lamont trying to go underneath Dave Campbell. Andrew Lockett sweeps around into 3rd position for our 1200s, but it's all going to be car number 33 of April Welsh. She takes a well-deserved victory, and you can see she's pretty happy with that. In 2nd would be Jonathan Scarey in car 23. Dave Campbell takes out 3rd. Final race of the day for our historic touring cars, with Peter Piscaneri on pole position alongside a super sideways Graham Woolhouse in the grey and black Mustang, and John Bondi also up in the top 3 as they head into turn number 1 for the first time. Behind those 3, we've got 2 of the GTR XU1 Tiranas of Stuart Young and Scott Mackey, and a big off there for Martin Dennis in the Datsun 1600, a car that was renowned in the Australian Rally Championship back in the 70s. And as you can see, Martin throws it back into first gear and accelerates straight back up the hill, back out onto the racetrack, trying to minimise the damage done to his race number 3. And up over the top of the hill, Piscaneri and Woolhouse. We go back to John Bondi, the first of the Aussie-made products, with Stuart Young behind him. Down into turn number 7 for the first time. Graham Woolhouse fighting back now and takes the lead over Piscaneri, who makes a pretty radical move on the way out of turn number 7, trying to get the inside run, and that's allowed John Bondi to blow past him around the outside, and then comes over and defensively takes 2nd place into turn number 1. And it's now car number 86 of Graham Woolhouse over John Bondi, then Peter Piscaneri. So 2 Mustangs and a Holden Monaro and a Holden Tirana are your top 4 as they come over the hill, with Stuart Young looking in a threatening position here for Peter Piscaneri. A little bit further back is Ian Brown in car number 92, the Mark 1 GT Cortina. Looks like there may be an issue on board car number 8 of Laurie Lapsley as he slows, but manages to get the car going. And unfortunately for our race leader in Graham Woolhouse, he pulls off into the pit area. So mechanical issue on board the silver and black Mustang, and that pays to his afternoon, unfortunately. So John Bondi now takes over the lead in car number 89 from Peter Piscaneri. As they fly across the top of the hill, Piscaneri just drops the left rear off onto the ripple strip on the exit of turn number 5, and that promotes Stuart Young up into 3rd. Laurie Lapsley able to get the Mark II Jaguar back up and percolating again, and then Ian Brown and Trevor Fairs. Been a good debut for Randle Beavis in car number 58, the Ford Capri. And these guys having a great battle with Ian Brown and Trevor Fairs. And unfortunately, Laurie Lapsley retiring the Mark II Jaguar. Don Behetz in the big Ford Galaxy now, trying to do something about Randle Beavis and at the same time holding off Scott Mackey in the GTR XU1. And Bondi trying to keep this car as straight as possible. Has been having a few issues with tyres of late. Ian Brown, so good to see a Ford Cortina back out there on the circuit. It's been a long time since we've seen one in racing. And it's sounding nice and strong. And car number 92 looking the goods. The big galaxy of Don Behet's had some brake issues at the previous race meeting. They look like they have been sorted. As Piscaneri and Bondi now starting to go past the lap car of Martin Dennis. Bondi already got the headlights on. This will be a great win by a good 100 metres or so now as Bondi lights up car number 89 and comes across the line. He takes a great win for the Holden Monaro in first place. Over second place was Peter Piscaneri, and rounding out the three was Stuart Young. Final race of the day for street cars, IPC and 3E production cars, and it was Steve Turpin that got off to a really good start, able to get away from John Caligari, Ben Peachy and Mark Jolly having a great run. Moves himself up into third position as they crest the hill for the first time. Neil Pollard up there as well as they come across the top of the hill. Unfortunately for Ben Peachy, might be an issue on board the 200V Triple S, as he really slowed down on that first lap. But Caligari able to get back over in touch with Steve Turpin. And Turpin runs the car very wide, just about out into the sandpit, and a pretty spectacular way of entering the track as he jumps over the ripple strip and back onto the tail of John Caligari. Mark Jolly hanging on for third at the moment. What was probably one of Mark's better drives for season 2024. Brad Wheeler in the car number 6, the Honda Civic, as he heads up through the S's. Bit of a lock up there from Brent Peters as he tries to hunt down the Ford Falcon of Mark Jolly. He has Neil Pollard behind him, and Cameron Burns doing an exceptional first year in this Honda Civic, the green car. So Caligari now starting to stretch the legs on the VN Commodore from Steve Turpin in this beautifully presented Holden Commodore. Car number 3 in second place. Third, still hanging on, is Mark Jolly. Starting to get a little bit sideways now on the exit, with Pollard not too far off the boot lid of the Ford Falcon. Then we have Brent Peters. And some smoke developing now from Neil Pollard's car, and that does not look like a very good way to end the last race of the day for our street cars, IPC and 3E production cars. And unfortunately, that will be a DNF for Neil Pollard. Catch up on the American muscle car of Neville Zoccoli as he heads down into turn number 7, chasing Cameron Burns and Mark Jolly. Mark Jolly now looking up the inside of Brent Peters, who's able to drive around the outside and taking Cameron Burns with him. This car of Brent Peters looking very threatening as they went down into turn number 1. With Ben Peachy trying to sort those issues that he had out, and was able to get back up into second place behind John Caligari, but a long way off the rear of Caligari. Now this battle, V8 versus 4-cylinder of Zoccoli and Cameron Burns as they head up into turn number 4. There's our leader, Caligari, car number 5, already down into turn number 6, with Ben Peachy in second position. Steve Turpin in second position. And Kyle McPherson, one of our new runners here at carco.com.au Raceway. All the action starting to happen back here for third, fourth and fifth. And again, another brake lockup for Brent Peters. And it's on both sides, front left, front right and rear right. So starting to be a little bit of a problem on board the Holden Commodore. There's Brad Peters, now Brad Wheeler starting to be lapped by by Mark Jolly in the Ford Falcon, who has Neville Zocoli not too far behind him. Then Brent Peters again down into turn number 1, and another lock-up, this time from Mark Jolly. And unfortunately for Neville Zocoli, he's reversed the Chevrolet Corvette into the sand down there at turn number 1. He was able to get going, no safety car required, so the race continued. Here's another view. Able to turn the car around and get back out onto the circuit. 1 lap to go for John Caligari, with Steve Turpin trying to do his best to get into the boot lid on this final lap. Fiat Commodore of Caligari has been a standout in season 2024 in the improved production category here at Carco Raceway. Outstanding run for 3rd place, car number 59 of Mark Jolly, and again we can see Brent Peters driving on 4 50-cent pieces as we come to the conclusion of this one. Turn number 7 for the last time, and it's the Fiat Commodore of John Caligari. It takes out a great win. Fighting back all day has been Steve Turpin, doing his best. He will take out 2nd position on the track, and then Ben Peachy. And as far as our street cars, it did go to Ben Peachy over Neville Zocoli. Our 3E production cars goes to Brent Peters from Damien Croxon and Laurie Whitome. And improved production cars, John Caligari, Steve Turpin and Mark Jolly for 3rd. Final race of the day here at carco.com.au Raceway, and it is the Holden HQs with Mick Woodbridge on pole position, and a stacked field of Holden HQs, 11, and they've been very, very competitive racing all day here at Carco Raceway as we are away and down into turn number 1 for the first time, with Stuart Kenny looking to run around the outside of Mick Woodbridge. Ryan Davis being pushed out wide. He'll take 3rd on the way out of turn number 1 for the first time, with Grant Ord now looking for a run around the outside of car number 49. That's not going to work out there. And Michael Howlett looking threatening already as well as they come across the top of the hill for the first time. It's still Mick Woodbridge from Stuart Kenny in 72, Grant Ord and Ryan Davis in there as well. A big gaggle of HQs side by side down into 6 and again up and over the top of the hill. Davis able to get up into 2nd place at the moment, with Stuart Kenny in 3rd and Grant Ord for 4th. Troy Kent in car number 3, the blue and white car, in P5 as they go across the stripe for the first time. You can see them, some radical lines happening on the way out of turn number 7 as Grant Ord defends, comes over to driver's right, defends his line from Stuart Kenny, and Michael Howlett around the outside. You can see the headlights on, starting to get a little bit darker in the afternoon here at Carco Raceway, and Stuart Kenny able to get past Michael Howlett, puts him back in position, and Troy Kent in car number 3 looking for a way around Michael Howlett in turn number 4. A little bit of a touch there on the exit of turn number 5, but Howlett still able to hang on at the moment as they head down into turn number 6. Troy Kent looking for a way through on Michael Howlett, not happening at the moment. But back to the front, it's car 74 of Mick Woodbridge from Ryan Davis. These two have had some great battles, not only today, but all through the season. And a 4-car battle for 3rd as they come up and over the top of the hill. And Ryan Davis able to get in front of Mick Woodbridge this time. And Michael Howlett still holding on from Troy Kent in car number 3 as they head down in towards turn number 6. And very, very late on the brakes as car number 3 locks it up and actually runs straight off the track on the exit of turn number 6. Does Troy Kent in car number 3, and that will be his race done. No safety car required. as we see Grant Thompson sideways, it's spinning the car out on the exit of turn number 7, bangs it back into first gear, lights the bags up again on the way out, and he maintains his position on the track. And we have double wave yellows at the top of the hill, indicating that the car of Troy Kent is down there in turn number 5. But really starting to get pretty willing back here now for the lead. As you can see, Woodbridge has dropped back into 3rd or 4th position at the moment. He swaps up the inside. It's Michael Howlett that's been the big mover. He's come from P5, missed that incident with Troy Kent, and now finds himself at the head of the pack as they head up through the S's, reel off another lap here at Carco, with Stuart Kenny on the inside, Woodbridge to the outside, and again more side-by-side stuff happening over the top of the hill, with Ryan Davis, who was leading this race, now finds himself in P5, down into 6th, line astern. It's car number 4 of Grant Ord with the lead as they come down into 7. Here comes Stuart Kenny with a good pass up the inside. Car number 72 now going to the front, and Michael Howlett, who was first, now finds himself in 3rd and gets caught up a little bit in a sideways Stuart Kenny. Nearly 3 wide as they come across the line. Now Mick Woodbridge back in front. 3 or 4 car lengths over Ryan Davis as they exit turn number 1 and head up through the bus stop chicane. See Michael Howlett now all over the back of Mick Woodbridge, and side by side Kenny and Ord to the inside. Davis is now sticking his nose in there as well as they head down into turn number 6. It'll be Grant Ord for 3rd position at the moment. Davis locks it up. Good awareness from Grant Ord, keeps the car really wide to avoid any contact, and Stuart Kenny looking for a run up the inside. Further back in the field, this will be Bill Breen and O'Keefe.
Look at the gap for the race lead though. Woodbridge, G-O-R-N.
Woodbridge now starting to pull away from the rest of the field as our laps count down here at Carco Raceway. It's Woodbridge from Davis. Grant Ord hanging on for 3rd at the moment as they crest the top of the hill. Grant Ord in car number 4 from 49 of Davis. Then Michael Howlett, who was leading this race earlier on, finds himself back into 4th now. And Mick Woodbridge already starting the celebrations with 1 lap to go. Has a good lead as they head into turn number 1 for the last time. And still car number 4 in 2nd place. There's an overtake there for 3rd place. So Ryan Davis now up into 3rd, and Stuart Kenny in car number 72 is back into 4th position. Looking to possibly go down the inside of Ryan Davis, but he's thought better about that one. Mick Woodbridge now with the headlights ablaze as he comes through turn 7 outside McCracken House for the last time, and it will be a good win for car 74 of Mick Woodbridge. And the battle's on here for 2nd position. Davis goes to the outside, and Grant Ord and Stuart Kenny are in battling for this one, but it's Woodbridge across the line first from Stuart Kenny in 2nd and Grant Ord for 3rd. Thanks for watching. To find out more, get on to the West Australian Sporting Car Club YouTube channel, and we'll see you at the racetrack really soon.